folks, Trogrich from IntoDrums.com here with a little bit of a different video for you. This is something that I've wanted to do for the last 12 months and I'm excited to finally have it done and ready to show you guys. Now, as you can see, I've got my beautiful DW Collectors series next to me. I've had this kit long before I had an endorsement. I think I bought it in 2007 and the date that it was made was 2006. Now, the setup you're probably used to seeing in all my other videos is 10, 12, 16 with the times, and that's not actually the setup that I bought originally. I originally bought 10, 12, 14. So I didn't actually add the 16-inch floor tom until about 6 years ago. And the main reason for that was I just personally felt I wasn't getting enough bottom end from the 14. So I ordered the 16-inch floor tom based off the advice from the one and only George Christie, God rest his soul. And I have never looked back. I love the 16-inch floor tom. It gave me all the bottom end I needed and more. So for the past 6 years, my main setup for toms was 10, 12, 16. In fact, most gigs now I only use 10, 16. So for the past 6 years, I've had a 14 by 10 inch floor tom sitting in a case doing absolutely nothing. Flash forward a few years and I am absolutely blown away by the amazing Larnell Lewis and his floor tom that he's got there on the right, which is actually a snare drum. It's a Snom, and I'm like, what the heck is this Snom thing? And how can I get one? And it was a friggin' mystery to me for ages. But then I came across the Drumeo video with Larnell online where he breaks down how he actually got the snare drum sound and what exactly he used. And I thought to myself, man, that's a killer idea. But then it occurred to me, hey, why not convert this floor tom into a Snom? But then I had to wrestle with the idea of taking my very expensive Collector's Series floor tom, cutting a snare bed into it, drilling hardware into it, and potentially wrecking it. Now, I'm not crazy enough to grab a chisel and a file and cut a snare bed in myself. I've got no idea about anything and how that works. So I contacted the one and only Mr. Phil Shinbine from the Shinbine Drum Company and asked him how much and all that kind of stuff. And I was blown away with how cheap it was actually going to be. And to be honest, I think he should have charged a lot more than what he did, but that's another story. So I dropped off the drum at Phil's. He did the snare bed and put the throw off on, and he actually filmed it and created a video. I'll leave a link in the description. Please go check it out. It's awesome. Phil's channel is amazing. So I got the drum back from Phil. Everything was great, except I needed a few more parts. I needed the wires for the bottom of the snare, and I needed the heads. So I tried a few different things, but I did some experimentation first. Firstly, I tried on the bottom a Diplomat snare, which is actually surprisingly awesome on a normal snare drum. Just it really increases the sensitivity, but in this case it really probably didn't help, and I replaced that with an Ambassador snare and that sounded much better. As for the snare wires, I actually went with 14-inch 30 strand pure sound snare wires, which are awesome. They give you heaps of articulation and buzz, which is what you want from this kind of drum. I then tried a Remo Black X on top, and that had a little bit too much overtone for me. I tried experimenting by putting big fat snare drums on and muting it and doing all that kind of stuff and with moon gels, and it just wasn't giving me exactly what I wanted. Now, full disclosure, I am a Remo artist, so I did my best to try and use all Remo on my drums, and to be honest, the top head was just not giving me exactly what I needed. Now, I did try and go through the Remo line and find a head that would do the job of what I wanted. I needed something that essentially normally would sound pretty crappy because it needed to be so dead, but in this situation would actually serve the drum better. After coming across an awesome video by the guys from Sounds Like a Drum, they pretty much went through the same kind of stuff as me, experimenting with different heads, and they came to this recipe with the Evans hydraulic on top. Like I said, I actually went through lots of Remo heads, and I love Remo, but they just don't offer anything that would fit the bill for me. And this particular head, I put it on and straight away it actually sounded like what I wanted it to sound like. So I'm really, really fingers crossed hoping Remo will actually bring out a head like this so I can use their product. But full disclosure, until then, this is what I'll be using. I've taken the logo off, but when you hear that, that's what you're gonna hear. So I've got the Remo Ambassador Hazy on the bottom, plus I've got the Pure Sound 30 strand wires, and then I've got the other brand hydraulic head on the top, and the drum sounds awesome. But I ran into one more problem. How the hell am I gonna mount this thing? This tom's never had legs. I used to hang it off a ride cymbal stand when I was at gigs, and I'm not a big fan of doing that, just for practicality, quick setup and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a massive fan of doing that kind of stuff anymore. So I thought to myself, why don't I put it in a snare stand? So I ran into a problem because this drum is 10 inches deep, and finding a snare stand that is actually gonna hold and is that low is quite challenging. Quite a bit more challenging than you would think. And I looked on DW's website because I'm a DW artist, and I was trying to find stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I gonna do, what am I gonna do? But then I realized I had a spare snare stand sitting in the corner. It was in fact this DW ultralight flat-based snare stand. But again, it was too high. I just couldn't get the drum in the right position. It was just way too high. So I did what any other rational person will do. I got the grinder out and I cut the damn thing down. So to figure out how much I needed to take off, I took the basket out with the drum in it, put it next to it, and figured out that I needed to take roughly 100 mil or 4 inches off the base. And to cut it down, there's a little grub screw there. I just undid that with an Allen key, took the top off, twisted it off, and that gave me the pole. I marked 100 mil off with some masking tape, put it in a vise, cut it with a grinder, put the top back on, and then I did the same thing with the basket. I took 100 mil off, masking tape, cut it, and the end result was a super low, super light Snom holder that put my drum in exactly the right spot, and it works magically. So for me, the end result speaks for itself. Hats off to Phil. He did an amazing job. If you want to check him out, check out his channel. Hit the link below. Check out how Phil modified this drum for me. And if you're interested, reach out to him. I'm sure he'll help you out. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you did like it, please hit that thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing for more drum related content. I've got lessons, videos like this, covers, playing, just drum stuff. And if you're interested in more serious education, please check out my website, intodrums.com, where I do live lessons. I've got pre-recorded lessons and courses, and the new website is going to launch very, very soon. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Have a great week, and as always, happy practicing.